Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reinvention Conversations from the Front Porch. I'm your host, Hollis Thomases, and tonight we are going to be doing our live broadcast episode 36 with Deborah Keevan, and we are going to be telling you a little bit about reinvention, and then we'll start our interview. Well, Reinvention Works brings you this broadcast because reinvention is a choice, and what we want to do is help you to your journey of choice by empowering you with tools and resources and information and education, just like this webcast is today. So that's why we are bringing you this live webcast. And Deborah's story tonight is going to inspire you because Deborah has reinvented herself. Well, I won't say countless times, but quite a few times. So she's learned a thing or two. And her current incarnation is a business called Our Tales Untold, and I'm going to let her tell you about that in a second. So let's stop the screen share and have Deborah say hello to you guys so you can see her. Why don't you say a quick hello, Deborah?
Hi, everyone, and it's great to see you, and it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Hollis.
Thanks for being here. We're so excited to get this going, right?
Yes, we are.
So, as we always do, what we're going to do is I'm going to give Deborah about 5 minutes to tell her reinvention story, whichever part or where she thinks is most relevant to all of you. And then she and I will go through a Q&A. And if there's time at the end, we'll open it up for questions. So, Deborah, I'm going to turn the floor over to you. Take it away.
Terrific.
Oh, 1 second.
I was going to say, well, there's an important fact that we're
You must remember the wine. The wine is important. What are you drinking? See, you have some red and I have some.
I have red, yes. You have the faux red.
You are drinking what kind of red?
It is, it's Rubus, and I am trying to think. I think it's a Chardonnay, and I'm not exactly sure where it's from, but it is a full-bodied, and it's quite delicious.
A Cabernet.
Yes.
A Cabernet.
Yes, not Chardonnay. Yes,
right.
Chardonnay. Sorry, I saw the white.
And this is actually a rosé. It's hard to tell on screen, but it's kind of like a peachy, off white because it is a Pinot Noir. It's a white Pinot Noir. That's from Germany, and it's very nice, especially as we're supposed to be getting into warmer weathers now that it is in the middle of May, but we're not quite warm yet. We were discussing that before we got started.
Exactly.
So now I'm eating into your time, so I'll give you a minute or two.
That's all right.
But why don't you tell us your story of reinvention?
So how does one even begin? We'll get into the details, but I guess my reinvention starts with me being a 17-year-old and deciding to leave a family that was not really a supportive family, and I became emancipated at that time. And what that means is I became financially and physically responsible for myself. And I went to college for a short period of time, but didn't have enough money to continue. And from there, went into processing IRAs and really learned a lot about the IT field. Went back to school, became an accountant, got a CPA, was an accountant for many years, and did internal audits. And from there, became Six Sigma Black Belt, which I like to say is really a certified problem solver. Take lots of statistics and data and solve problems. And from there, I morphed into change management, which is really about taking teams and helping them work together. And when you go into an area, really looking at who's an influencer formally and informally, and getting people on board and helping to build strong teams by communicating in an effective way. From there, I left work, and my son at that time was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is a high-functioning form of autism, which was interesting because when I first went to college, that's what I was going to study, and I ended up not finishing that form of study. So anyway, but all of the things that I've learned helped me create a real holistic treatment plan for him, working with some fantastic providers. So I worked with him for 5 years. And during that time, I went back to school, got an advanced degree, and wrote a novel. And from there, started my own company where I've done communications, helping people build websites, primarily non-for-profits and smaller niche businesses. And then my passion sort of took everything all together, interviewing. And I started a business where I help people record their most precious memories and making sure that families' stories always live on past them. How's that for lots of reinventions?
I think you really do have the record of all the people that I've interviewed. Wow. You know, and it's in part because you started at a young age, and, you know, to kind of go back to your emancipation, you by being emancipated, you were legally responsible for yourself. You were recognized by the law as being a responsible adult, even though you were not of adult age. You could not vote.
Could not vote. Could not
drink. You could not go to war. You know.
Right.
You did go to college, and you had to drop out. What made you think that, you know, you would land on your feet at that point in time?
You know, it's interesting because I look back on that moment kind of, and I always knew that I would be successful. And I'm not sure exactly why or how, but I knew, you know, at that time, my dad wanted me to join the Navy, actually. And my mom just was sort of in denial about what was going on in the household. They were not married to each other. And I had $100 that I had received as a gift, and I had luggage that I gotten that Christmas, and that was it. I had no job. I had a room that we rented. I rented from a classmate's parents, who were both teachers. I just knew, you know, granted, I had great friends, and their families sort of adopted me. So I had, I think, this extended network of really strong relationships. But there was never a doubt in my mind that I was going to go to college and I was going to be successful.
And did you know this even before your emancipation?
Yeah, I did. I was always sort of the oddball in my family. I was the first person to go to college. And I'll give you an example. When I was in 7th grade, we had a readathon in our school. And, you know, all people in my family, like, you know, hey, I'll give you a nickel for every book you read. Well, I think the closest competitor to me when I went back to school, they read like 30 books. I read 317 books or something like that. And my family promised and swore never again would anyone ever.
Right.
But no one else read like I read, you know, and I just had a voracious appetite for knowledge.
So, you know, I think that it's interesting because a big aspect of the ability or inability for somebody to reinvent is overcoming fear. But, you know, you are almost innately fearless, it feels like. Would you agree?
I think that I do definitely have fears, and there's definitely the ego is there, you know, underneath it all, saying, you know, who do you think you are, that you can do this. But I've also had success, you know, for lots of luck along the way, and people who have been cheerleaders or mentors in the right place at the right time who've said, hey, why don't you take your skills? I noticed that you're really good at this. Would you like to try that? And I've always just been the kind of person that is like, sure, why not? And that sounds interesting to me. I love to learn. I think if I won the lottery, I would probably just go back to school and learn everything that there is to learn. Like, I just love learning and trying new things. So I guess that, you know, early on, before I had kids, certainly there wasn't this fear of failing. Now that I'm responsible for other human beings. It's a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have this belief that we're going to be okay. I mean, I look back in the rearview mirror and it's like there's no evidence to support
Otherwise.
Right.
Do you see that same kind of conviction and confidence in other people? Is it something that you can instantly recognize?
I see it in some other people, sure. But there are many other people that don't have it.
Right.
And I recognize that what I have is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Nutty.
I was going to ask because, one of the things that I like to glean from these interviews is what lessons can other people take away from each one. And I think that because you're so fearless and have such powerful conviction, you have more than 50% of the battle. And you've also reinvented so many times successfully. I think that it, like you just described, kind of boosts your ability to believe in yourself, even in the face of fear.
Right.
And so it's almost like that taking that first leap, wherever that first leap might be for somebody, whether it's 17 or 47, is what you need to do to kind of see if you can do it or prove it to yourself. But oftentimes just the timing of everything may not all be in alignment.
Well, and I think too, there's a big part of me that really believes we're only here for a very short period of time. And, there's nothing joyful about, getting in your car, slogging someplace and doing something that you hate just to pay the bills. That's not life. That's not the thing. And I did that for a little while. And at that point, you got to find something else, another way to apply your skills. You need to be passionate. Life it's just too short. And, we hear how many people who work until the day they retire and then 2 weeks later they have a heart attack. Like they save it all up till the end. There's no point in that. Life is meant to be enjoyed all the way through it.
So there are people who say, it's all about finding your passion. It's all about finding your purpose. And then there are others who say, like, pshaw, it's not about passion, because passion should be your hobby. And you have to find some intersection where you can make money, because in one way or another, you have to pay your bills. And so since you're somebody who does pursue both your own reinvention more than once and something that you're passionate about, what do you think about that? And how do you come upon your next passion since you've changed so many times?
Yeah, that's a great question. I really think that a lot of it is what you believe. If you believe that you will be successful and make a living and a life that can support yourself in the way that you want to live, you will. If you also believe that you should do something else and pursue your passions as a hobby, then that's what you will do. I mean, I really do. I firmly believe that what your intention is and what you tell yourself you can do is exactly what you'll achieve. And when your value and your convictions are aligned, the universe or God or whatever you want to call it makes things happen. I mean, I've seen it and I've experienced it time and time again. The teacher shows up at the exact right time, or the exact person that I really needed to support me in a certain way shows up.
Did you ever conjure them? Did you ever wish for them and that's why they appeared? Or, is it something conscious? Do you think about that?
I think that it's me putting my intention out there, and I think it's also me being very clear about what I want. When I'm unclear about what I want, I get garbage, not garbage, but it doesn't happen. But I found that when I'm very clear and very intentional about what I'm wanting and how I'm working towards, so you can't just, I want $1 million. You've got to actually put a plan in place, but you've got to be very intentional about how you're doing it, what your thoughts are, what your actions are, and everything needs to be in alignment.
So along this journey of yours, what's been the highest point?
Oh boy. There's been so many, and I'm not sure that I've had the highest point yet. You asked me that before. It's me to think about, and I can't remember even. Gosh, can we come back to that one?
Sure.
Let me think on it.
Let's then go the opposite direction. Which do you think was your biggest mistake or failure?
Oh, marriage. I'm going through a divorce, and I will say that divorce is hard, and it feels like a failure, but at the same time, honestly, I learned more about myself through this marriage than I ever have through all of my experiences to this date. So on one hand, there's the sadness about a relationship coming to an end after a long period of time. But at the same time, I'm very grateful for the gifts that it gave me. So that's the low, not the high, but that's the low. I guess for me, being a mother would probably be like just a super high thing. I had cancer actually in the 90s, and I didn't think I would be able to have children, and it was just a dream of mine my whole life. So finding out that I was able to have children and then have 2 healthy children, that has to be the high.
Fantastic. Congratulations, by the way. When you're going through challenging times, how do you manage through it?
A lot of meditation, a lot of walking. And one of the things that I've implemented recently is actually just reaching out and letting people know that, hey, I just need to talk, or hey, can we just go laugh somewhere? I mean, just really tapping into the things that bring me joy. Laughing, going for a walk. I love being in nature, hiking, kayaking.
Me too.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the idea of this support network, because you just mentioned something about reaching out to people when you're in your low time, and you talked about how the teachers always came at the right time. You've talked about mentors. You've talked about the fact that even when you were a young person and you were living in a friend's house in their room, in a room that you rented, how important do you think support is to the reinvention process?
It takes a village. It takes a village. And I think for me, I think having a community that you build or you belong to, or however you have a community or a family or both, friends, whatever you want to call it, is critical. Because, there are people out there who've done things that I haven't done. And I could struggle and struggle and struggle through something, but why would I want to do that? And plus, you learn some really cool things from people when you talk to them and ask them questions.
Right. Do you have people who come to you to ask questions about things like change because you've done it so many times?
I get a lot of people asking me about change. A lot of people ask me about the way that I worked with my son when he was diagnosed, because we did things very differently. I often talk to people about writing. I do a lot of editing and things like that. So, yeah.
Do you think that, in your reinventions, it sounds like a lot of them happen because you said yes, and it didn't necessarily mean that you had the abilities, the aptitude, the skills yet, but that you had the conviction that you could acquire them.
Yeah.
So do you think for other people who may be going through reinvention and wondering about, well, I can't do this because I don't have those skills, what kind of pearls of wisdom do you have there?
I think that there's a fine balance, because I think you need to have certain skills to be successful. But I also think that if you wait until you learn everything to move forward, you will never move forward. One of my mentors says you can't steer a parked car. And I think that that's a great metaphor. You actually need to be moving forward and pursuing your dream in order to make it happen. So yeah, it won't be perfect, and it may be sloppy, and it may not be your best, but you just got to do what you can, find the right people to get help to make things better, and learn things along the way. I learned way more after I started something than I knew before I started.
Do you think that the thing that prevents people from being able to move forward as they learn is both fear of either failing at that thing under a microscope because somebody gave them the opportunity in the first place, or a lot of folks that I have talked to who are a bit older in their years and more mature in their careers feel like the pressure from a younger generation who are coming into the workforce with pre-existing skills, and they're not giving themselves their credit for the life skills and the experience skills that they've acquired that aren't necessarily technical skills that they don't have.
Yeah, and I think that that's a challenge, and I do talk to a lot of people about that, because even young people who haven't finished college, but they have all these other skills, and if you only look at yourself through this much of a lens and only look at what's on paper, you're missing the whole breadth of a person and what you bring. So I think to the extent that you can really look at everything, but I do think failure is a really big fear. And I was just thinking about that a little bit because you asked me about that earlier, and it's like, I do have a fear of failure, but in my career, it's not been an issue. I don't know if that makes me wise or just insane. I'm not sure, but
blind, dumb, crazy. I think I'm crazy all the time.
Yeah, and I think I approach it as a sense of fun, like that. Yeah. Fun to learn something new and try that. And
how have you tried to impart all of this to your children?
It's I think they see me try new things, and they see me pursue my dream, like my dream of writing a novel and being a writer, and changing from the accountant to really pursuing my dreams. And so I have a son that's graduating high school in a couple of weeks, and he is going on to school and pursuing his dream. He's going to be a vocal performance major. And he's like, some people are telling me I should, get a practical career. And I said, Cooper, if you don't go for what you want now, when will you ever do it? I mean, who knows?
So we're going to see him on The Voice.
You might. He could do it. He could pull it off. And then my younger son is an artist, and he makes videos, and he's so creative. And again, it's like, pursue your passion. The money will come. Be creative, have fun, and you've got to have responsibilities. I mean, my younger son actually does work with me, and he does a lot of the graphic work for me, and he's fantastic. But there's always the responsibility side of it.
Right, absolutely. So what are some of the biggest specific lessons that you would want to impart to folks who, if they're asking you, how did you do this? I'm not you.
Right.
And so how would you break this down for me? What would you tell them?
I would tell them, be clear about what you want first. I would say, and don't worry about what you think people will tell you, but really be clear about what you want. Also be clear about what your strengths are. Too many times we focus on what our weaknesses are and strengthening those. And I think it's wiser to spend more time, looking at your strengths and using those, because that's what differentiates you. Even if there's 10 people doing the same thing in the marketplace, you are going to do things differently than the other 9 because you're you and you have unique skills and talents that you bring and only you bring. And there's enough to go around. There's how many millions of us in the world, and the internet connects all of us now. So don't worry about that. Just do your best and have a plan. Be prepared to deviate from it and ask for lots of help.
All excellent. I'm scribbling. I'm scribbling, and I'm also absorbing because it's like a good reminder to myself. One of the things that I thought recently, the whole aspect of podcasting is having this resurgence. When it was first popular, it was probably around 2004, 2005. I knew a bunch of people who were first podcasters out there, and then it kind of waned and it's back. And so it's the rage, right? So what do? Do I start a podcast? No, I start a webcast. Not because I was anti-podcast. I wasn't even thinking about the podcast because to me, podcast was already in the past.
Right.
And I was like forward-looking. So I'm like, I'm going to start a webcast. Well, like I think about this and I go, probably in 5 years' time, everybody's going to be webcasting.
Well, and the thing
they aren't already, but
the thing is what you're doing is so unique and so interesting, and it's so valuable. And I think it's neat to see people as you're interacting. So you could do it via voice, but I don't know. There's something to be said about being able to see someone.
Right. And it's it is different. I mean, having participated in a number of podcasts now, I like the connection. I like the feedback personally.
Yeah.
It's not about me, it's about you.
Yeah.
So one last question. Do you think that reinvention is for everybody? And if so, why? Or if not, why?
Oh, is reinvention for everyone? I think that reinvention probably is for everyone, but to what degree, right? You can reinvent your hair. You can reinvent your entire being. You can reinvent where you live. You can reinvent in any number of ways. And I think that it really just depends on, what each person wants. And I think it's our jobs to support each person in his or her journey, wherever that is, and encourage them. So I do think that, in fact, I think I'll get my hair done. No, just kidding. Which is interesting because I do get my hair, I reinvent my hair pretty often.
Oh, do you?
I do.
I have reinvented my hair, not necessarily recently, but a lot of people that I haven't seen from, say, Baltimore, where I was for 25 years practically, they're like, oh, you cut your hair. I'm like, yeah, it's been a while now.
Old news.
Old news, exactly. Well, fantastic. So we're going to see if anyone has any questions. We'll open the floor up, and if not, we'll just call it a wrap. So folks, if you want to type anything in your Q&A box, please do. We'd love to have your questions for Deborah. Otherwise, we'll give you a couple of seconds because I know fingers are not as fast as my mouth, especially. So if anything shows up. In the meantime, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food? Oh my gosh, I'm a foodie, so I love lots of different food. I think my favorite type of food is Middle Eastern food.
Yummy.
I love Lebanese. You give me Lebanese food and I will be a happy girl.
Phenomenal. Yeah.
How about you? What's yours?
What's my favorite food? Well, probably my singular favorite food of all time is a good homemade chocolate chip cookie.
Ooh.
But yeah, I'm a foodie too. And in fact, in my second to last reinvention, I spent 10 years in the food business before I went into digital. So yeah, I completely 180'd. Yes,
That's pretty cool.
one of my first press releases was how 10 years of stuffing my face led to internet enterprise. So, there's not much that I don't eat anymore. I used to not eat things like blue cheese and
Oh,
sea urchin, but you know.
I have a kind of a motto that I'll try anything once.
Yeah.
And that has not necessarily played out in my favor, but
But you know, that goes along with that whole always say yes, always be open, have a sense of adventure, you know, and there's a lot of talk about the fact that when you're reinventing, you're probably going to feel uncomfortable. And that sense of discomfort is not only normal, but you should welcome it. If you're not feeling uncomfortable enough, you're not doing enough to try to change because you're still in that parked car that you're trying to steer. You know?
Right. I mean, you're not. I think that part of where you're feeling uncomfortable is actually when the change is going to happen. That's the magic. When you're at that edge. You know?
Right. Or at least it's the thing. It's your barometer of push through, keep going.
Exactly.
You know,
your ego actually tries to keep you small and safe.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so, at that point when you get a cold or you've got all that internal chatter, you've got to actually say, not today, Zerg, and run through the caution tape.
That's right. Good job. Hey, have you done any marathons or anything like that? No?
Heck no.
On the bucket list?
No. I will walk anywhere. In fact, one of my dreams is to walk the Campos de Santiago.
In Spain?
In Spain, in France, yeah, all 100 miles.
Wow. That sounds a whole lot more exciting than the Pacific Coast, whatever that was that woman did in Wild.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that, what she did, but this has hostels along the way and wine and
I'm with you. Well, let's do this. Let me share my screen again so we can at least get the audience your contact information. So everybody, here's how you can get in touch with Deborah. Your event took place already, right? But how did it go? How did your event? Why don't you tell everybody what you did, and will you be doing it again anyplace else?
The event was great. It was at the Cockeysville Library outside of Baltimore, Maryland, and we had about half a dozen people show up. It was a real rainy day, and what we did was each person brought a memento, something meaningful to them from their past, and they shared a little bit about what it was, and then I led them through guided questions. And then they wrote, actually for a really long time, and they asked for more time, how that artifact sort of brought up memories for them. And it was a really neat exercise. And then some of them shared their stories. And it was really neat and very touching. So I love it. And we're actually doing it again at the Encore Senior Living Center in Turf Valley in a couple of weeks.
And I assume, is it also open to the public?
The one at Encore is not open to the public, but we are in the process of talking to some of the local historical societies to do brown bag lunches for the show.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I think that you said that there's actually a name for what you do, and there's an association or society of the people that do what you do.
Absolutely. I'm part of the Association for Personal Historians, and there are about 150 of us across the country. And my company is called Our Tales Untold, and I help individuals or companies or business owners basically capture their memories, relive their most precious stories, and pass them down. And we can do it in a number of different ways. We can do it in short videos, like basically graduation little snippets, or we have a do-it-yourself program that I actually walk people through doing it themselves, or there's basically the memoir project, where it's 8 to 10 hours of interviewing and just a whole process where I sit with people and lead them through everything.
That's super exciting. Very
Yeah.
cool and different. So here's how you can get in touch with Deborah. You can contact her by email, Debbie with a Y at ripcordcom.com. That's your other business. Our Tales Untold is www.ourtalesuntold.com. Or you can contact her on Twitter at DeborahKeevan20. And that's how you can get a hold of Deborah. And then for us, you can always visit our website, reinventionworks.com, to find more of these recordings where we, obviously, we're doing this live, but we record them. And you can sign up for our email newsletter to find out what we've got coming up next. So, Deborah, thank you so much. I'm going to stop our screen share so we get one last tete-a-tete here. Thank you so much for being a fantastic guest. This was a lot of fun. And I hope that you have a wonderful night and take care on your journey.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And cheers.
Cheers to reinvention success.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Bye now.
Good night.
Good night.